safe thing for the community. So any questions, council or Mr. Mayor?
Mr.
Justin,
Miller, I
yes,
know
sir.
I took a couple calls about why the sirens did not go off. Could you allude to that? Or
Very good question. And he was asking why the sirens did not go off prior or on this Monday night at 7:30. The way the procedure is written, the sirens will be activated when a tornado warning is issued by the National Weather Service, and that did not happen. So dispatch followed procedure like they were supposed to.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
And now we'd ask the Public Works Director, Troy Kruger, who hasn't been doing anything for the last week, if you want to get up and maybe earn your pay here.
Good evening, everyone. That was a great story, Brad. You sure that wasn't the street crew?
Yeah.
The kids and the mom? And, all right. I'll be brief. Water and sewer, monthly water samples, meter readings, well readings, outlaw tap readings. We finished the sprinkler system out on the highway. Replaced some 1.5 to 2-inch meters that were finally getting in. We ordered those 9-10 months ago, and they're starting to show up now. So we're working on getting those. We got like a dozen of those around town that are left to get replaced for our meter swap out. And then we continue to have meters that are showing up low batteries, so the guys are keeping on top of that. Locates, and the storm happened. We didn't get a whole lot done last week as planned, so I'll talk about that a little bit at the end of my report. Streets and sanitation, we continue to work on the dump. Our main pit is filled up and is, continues to fill up at a rapid pace, so we're just digging on that when we get free time to keep some place available for the public to go. Turn the contaminated soils out there. We do that monthly, recycled and reloading, and the loading of the trash, running the sweepers. I also had a guy that came in and trained, helped the guys to learn the new sweeper, and so we can get the best performance out of it. And then we replaced that last loop on the stoplight. So I have to get a hold of that was planned for last week, but we canceled that guy to get that back to working the way the DOT, the original intent of the stoplight. So hopefully I can get him back, hopefully this week or the week after. Parks and cemetery, funerals, ball games. We had a couple tournaments up at Leahy Bowl, and some minor league games, mowing and weed eating. They started painting the handicap parking areas. We're going to try this summer before we lose our summer help to get around the schools and the downtown and the hospital area. We'd like to get the crosswalks repainted and the handicap areas repainted, and then later on this summer we'll stripe the parking spaces and things like that. Light department replaced a pole on Spruce Street that was damaged by a previous storm earlier this year. Fixed secondary lines on Spruce Street that were slapping together, same issue. They've been boring in the alleyway around the Truman Roosevelt area, 9th Street, 10th Street area. Set some boxes. We had to move a box over on Plum Street in preparation for our streets project for this year. So they moved that and then did a little dirt work. And the storm. So I'd like to thank everyone that we got a ton of calls, and I appreciate the public calling and asking if they can help. And we were very grateful for the help, and in some instances, we told people that just to give us a little bit, because explain kind of the bulk of what happened during that storm was we had a lot of wind, a lot of tree branches fell down, so we had a lot of secondary services that were laying on the ground, and they were still live. So we wanted to make sure that it's a safety issue. We didn't want anyone and everyone back there, cutting tree limbs away from those live wires. So. And then we obviously had our light crew was just, they were overwhelmed with work. We did call in a couple of, Seward, Nebraska came in, and Chad Doyle, Cody Menyon, and Brandon Heller from Seward, Nebraska, Bryce Steffens and Isaac Cruz from Brookings, South Dakota. We appreciate their help gratefully. They were a huge, huge help in getting us back, especially the Roosevelt Truman Street area. Without their help, we would have been at least another 2 days to get those people back into electricity. So I'll just kind of give you a rundown quick. I know everyone's curious. Everybody's asking me a lot of questions about this. Just give you a quick rundown of kind of the things that we tackled during this storm. But the North Shop, we lost our pole down there with the transformers on it, so we had no power. We had our backup generator running at the North Shop. But Mid Dakota Meats, that was a big deal. They've got all the free frozen goods down there, so that one in our shop, and then our lift station was out of power. Everything to the north of us basically was out of power down at the North Shop, so that one was kind of crucial. We had 2 blocks of lines down from 7th to 9th between Roosevelt and Truman, and that was a total. The whole line had to be rebuilt, so we had 2 blocks there where everyone was completely out of power. All the transformers went down. Pretty much a lot of the poles went down, so there was no, just had to rebuild it from one end to the other. So that's what the Stewart, Nebraska crew and the Brookings guys helped. That was a huge help getting that back up and going for us. And then we lost the overhead from 7th Street to Highway 44 out on Jackson Street. And that was Dollar General shop, or Ace Hardware runnings. And we were able to backfeed those people and get them back into power. But we, along Highway 44 from basically Office Products out to Holiday Inn Express was without power for about a day and a half because we had to rebuild that line also. So those were a couple of the big hit areas. We probably replaced another dozen poles around town. Another one that was kind of a big one for us was right on Main Street up here by the radio station. Three transformers hanging on that pole, and that pole actually snapped off. So we had to support that with our skid steer until we could get that, but we had to put 3 new transformers up there and restring all the wires to that one. So that was kind of a big deal, kind of time-consuming thing. And the city crews will continue to keep picking up trees first part of this week. I think we have. I visited 2 residents today where their services are still on the ground. We're waiting for electricians to come and get them hooked back up, and then we'll go back in and put the wires back up on. They have power right now, but we'll disconnect it, let the electricians do their work, and then we'll re-energize the lines. So I think we're on top of it. We just have a lot of sticks to pick up yet, and then once we get those all the tree limbs and branches cleaned up, then we'll go around town and we'll start getting the streets swept up and some of the debris picked up and clean up the parks and cemetery and whatnot. So, any questions?
Troy, how are we handling the stuff the electrical damage on the side of people's houses? Is that their problem, or is the city helping?
So if it's on their house or it's the secondary lines going to their house, that's the property owner's responsibility. So we've been in communication with them. Like I said, I think we only have 2 left. One of which got hooked up this afternoon, so we may be just down to 1. But yeah, that's our ordinance. So if it's in the primaries, I'm getting a lot of calls on trees yet. If it's a tree a limb that is broke off and it's cracked, and we know it's going to go down, we've been trying to help out people with that, just so we, obviously we want to try and prevent anyone from being out of service. But if it's in our lines, absolutely give us a call. We want to get those trimmed out. But if it's something where it's, we know it's going to go down, just a matter of another wind to blow it down, then we're trying to help out with that stuff too. So, any other questions?
So you guys may have remedied it already today, but I mowed my lawn last night and went out to the grass pit, and the tree rubble was clear out where it was hard to back up. Did they go push the trees back today,
Yeah, they've been out there. Saturday, I talked to Justin Brudemeyer. He was working the dump Saturday. He said it was just nonstop. He pushed up, multiple times during the day. I'm sure they pushed up this morning before they got started, but we're trying to not add to that congestion. So all the trees that we're hauling off city streets, we're taking them down to where we normally take our snow, and we'll continue to bring them down there because the tree pit's going to be full before the end of this cleanup. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Troy, excellent job. Okay. At this time, we'll ask the Finance Officer, Chandra Phillips.
My apologies, I forgot that we lost power last week, so one of our cameras happens to be dead because it wasn't able to charge for the last week and a half, so that's why this is pushed forward. Also, I do not know what happened at the beginning of the meeting, so the first 10 minutes of the meeting are not recorded. We did get it to live stream in the middle of Mitch's comments, so we got the important stuff, Mitch. So I don't have a whole lot for you tonight. I have 3 special events that have been approved by my office. The first one is the Black Lab going to St. Mary's Hall on September 28th and 29th. The Black Lab going to the 4-H Center on August 31st and September 1st. And Wings and More going to St. Mary's Hall on September 21st. Everything is in order in my office. They've all been paid, and they all have active liquor licenses, so we're good to go on all of those. The only other thing I have, and this isn't necessarily, the public doesn't get this magazine, but all of mayor and council get this magazine. For those of you who are unable to go to the elected officials workshop a couple weeks ago, everything that they covered is actually in the magazine too. The contacts for anyone that you need to get in touch with are in there. And then there is a very large article in there about IM 28. So that's Initiated Measure 28, and that is where it will be on the ballot in November to remove sales tax for all items consumable by humans. So we'll talk about this more in the Finance Committee. I've been talking about this for a year and a half approximately. The City of Winter, if this is implemented, we are not allowed to charge sales tax for something that the state cannot charge sales tax for. So if this initiated measure goes through, the City of Winter looks to lose approximately at least $250,000 in the first year. So it's definitely something that we need to be aware of and be looking at. If we lose $250,000, that's some projects, that's a lot of things within our general fund that we'll have to keep an eye on and potentially look at cutting, different things like that. So we'll talk about it more tomorrow. If you want more information, this magazine is very crucial to you as council members, as appointeds, to get involved in and look into too, and there'll be more in the news as it comes. I have definitely received a lot of questions about the newspaper. Sorry, Dan, not gonna take any thunder, but we as a local government are required to publish our legals and advertisements in a newspaper that is approved by the state. What that means is they have to have been in business for at least 1 full year. They have to have at least a 4-page publication once a week, and they have to have 120 inches of published information. So as all of you know, the Winter Advocate did announce last week in their newspaper that August 28th will be their last date. I have spoke with the 3 conjoining counties, so that is what we have to do. If there's no longer a newspaper in our county, we have to go to a conjoining county. So we can't just pick and choose any state across, or any newspaper across the state. It has to be a conjoining county. Lyman County, Gregory Advocate, and the Todd Millette County papers. I've spoken with all of them. I'm also working with Barb at the auditor's office and Laura at the school to hopefully get it so you only have to go one place for your information for Winter area. And we've also been in touch with, I believe Laura spoke with the Cologne School, and I have spoke with the Cologne City as well to see what's gonna work best for everyone. I do know that this is like not 100% certain. There are some things in the public that maybe you've heard. We don't have any answers yet. I've been told there's no official answers. We're hoping to have something so that hopefully the Advocate can go on and we can keep Dan. That's really what everyone is concerned about, is Dan. So we are working towards that goal, but we may have to do something in the meantime to get our advertisements and our legals out there, because September 1st, we will have some publications out there. We have a budget to publish. So that will be one of the main things we have to get done. Any questions for me?
Yes. Statement first. Obviously, we all hope somebody takes advantage of Winter Advocate and we don't lose the paper here in town, of course. My question is, you mentioned state lines. is there a law about going to Nebraska for the paper if we need to?
The
It is
laws that
a
I
conjoining
read,
county Also, I have to
Yes.
talk about my hometown, it is a conjoining county.
the laws that I read did not state anything about a separate state. I would have to verify that. It was my assumption reading those laws, it needed to be a South Dakota newspaper because of South Dakota laws only reflect South Dakota newspapers, but I can absolutely ask those questions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sandra. We have no bid openings tonight. We do have a public hearing. Item number 1, a public hearing for a special event malt beverage application for the Chamber of Commerce at the Tripp County 4-H grounds over Labor Day. At this time, we'll open the floor for discussion. Is anybody here to speak on behalf of this special malt beverage license? Is anybody here to speak against the issuing of a special event malt beverage license for the Chamber of Commerce? Seeing or hearing nobody on either side, I would open the floor for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve special event malt liquid, or malt beverage application for the chamber at the Tripp County 4-H grounds over Labor Day.
Motion by Schuyler, is there a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Second by Clay. And because I have no idea on the law, is, when we say over Labor Day, is that just Labor Day itself, the Monday? Or are we talking about the whole weekend? Shannon, you'd have to answer that.
Is this for this bull riding thing?
It's the bull riding
The
event,
chamber
which is
sponsoring?
Friday, yes. Correct, it's Friday?
I think it's Friday,
Yes.
Friday, Saturday,
Yep.
Friday, yeah.
So
Yeah.
Friday, August. This will probably just be faster, I'm sorry, I was trying to find the publication.
Yep.
August 30th.
So it's part of the Labor Day festivities, but it would be actually August 30th. I would ask.
I
if-
will amend my motion
Okay, and the
to
second?
specify.
Yes.
Okay, to make this be specifically August 30th. Okay? Any discussion on this, please, council? All in favor of issuing a special event malt beverage license to the Chamber of Commerce on August 30th, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. This motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, we don't have any Board of Adjustment. And believe it or not, we did all our business last month, or last time, so we don't have any old business. Under new business, item number 1. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to offer part-time employment to Megan Blair in the Communications Department at $22.52 an hour with 6 months probation and no benefits.
I'll second.
Motion by Clay, second by Hughes, to offer part-time employment to Megan Blair in the Communication Department at $22.52 per hour, 6-month probation and no benefits. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Item number 2. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to award the 2024 Labor Day Carnival to Max Carnival.
We have a motion by Clay. Is there a second?
Second, I'll second that.
Second by Clunt. Any discussion on this?
Mr. Mayor, council, Max Carnivals is the attraction that we've had for several years. I believe this will be their 3rd year with the city of Winter. In our RFP, they were the only ones who responded. We asked for 15 rides on the fairway. Unfortunately, due to employee situations, they are only able to guarantee 12 rides. They are guaranteeing a midway. And different this year than previous years. They are offering pre-sales on Carnival wristbands and tickets. So it's still $50,000 guarantee, but they are sending those in advance. The way that will work, Hidden Gems is who has offered to sell those on behalf of the city of Winter again. You would purchase a coupon for a wristband. The coupon is good for any of the 4 days that they are here and is good for the entire duration that they're open during that 4 days. So if you buy a coupon, you can turn it in, you can get a wristband for any of the days that you wish to attend. You could buy 4 coupons if you want to and have 4 wristbands. And they will work that out with you at the gate. However, if you have smaller children or only want to allow your children to go on 5 rides, you can still purchase tickets pre-sale as well. They are cheaper. Hidden Gems will also advertise that, so there's definitely an opportunity to purchase either or.
Any other discussion?
So, obviously, when you put a request for a proposal or a bid out and you get one company that responds, you can ask for anything you want, but you have zero negotiating ability. And we're glad to have a carnival. A carnival for Labor Day is it's very crucial for the weekend and the success. So that's all I have to say about that. Facts.
Any other discussion?
Do we have any insight on like what's changed as to why we only get one person that gives a bid or, I mean, that offers their services? Like, have we changed platforms for where we look for them or?
So that's all we've ever gotten before,
Yeah,
is one.
I can
Wow.
speak to that. Years ago, when I was part of the Legion, active with the Legion, we got one. There
Nice.
was one ever. And then at some point in time, when there was a move, we got one. And I searched the nation. People around that probably heard me say this. Looking for people to come? No.
Yeah.
We got one. And now we're in the mode of, we're lucky to get one.
Good information, thank you.
Yeah.
I will say that I do reach out to, this year I've reached out to 5 individual contractors and only one still responded.
Wow. Yep.
I think I read that this Max Carnival, the same company, is in Chamberlain having a carnival right now, I believe. I don't know what event they're having up there, but I think I saw a picture or something that, so if you wanted to go check them out, you know, in anticipation of our Labor Day.
Or don't, just stay here waiting and get excited for them to come to winter.
Okay. All right, very good. Okay, according to my information, if we're all done discussing this, we'll have a roll call vote to approve, to award the Labor Day Carnival to Max Carnival. Councilman Clay.
Yes.
Miners.
Yes.
Clunt.
Yes.
Hughes.
Aye.
Skylar.
Aye.
And Shaheen. Okay, everybody voted, and we'll award the carnival to Max Carnival. Glad they bid. Item number 3. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-17, policy for $1,000 to the volunteer group that sells carnival tickets for the city of Winter.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Clunt, second by Clay, to approve resolution 2024-17 to pay $1,000 to the volunteer group that sells carnival tickets for the city of Winter. Is there any discussion, please?
Yes, I'll speak to that, Mr. Mayor.
Very good.
To the public, because the whole council knows, but, so along with this conversation about the carnival, when we found out it was becoming more increasingly difficult to get a carnival to come to our Labor Day festivities, we had to guarantee $50,000 for them to come here, guaranteed. If ticket sales, we, the city council, we, the city, guaranteed the $50,000. If the ticket sales are shy of the $50,000, we make up the difference to match it to $50,000. Several years, we've had different organizations sell advance tickets. If they exceed the $50,000 sales, Max takes their $50,000 and they take it all, but they pay a percentage, 5% above and beyond that to the organization that it sells. Last year, they were shy the 50,000, circumstances happened, so they did the work and got nothing. So we put in place a compensation reward, whatever, for the organization that takes on the task of selling the tickets for us of $1,000. So they'll get $1,000 for selling them, and if they exceed $50,000, they get the percentage of that also. So that's, correct me if I missed anything or left anything out, but that should be an understanding for everybody watching at home and millions around the world.
Very good explanation, Councilman Clay. You've done this before.
Yeah, been here a while.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions that Mr. Clay can answer?
So if I have one question, if they go over $50,000, they would get a percentage, they get $1,000 plus a percentage of the overage of 50,000.
Correct.
Okay?
You understood that very well, Mr. Bechtold.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on Resolution 2024-17? We'll call the question. Councilman Miners,
Yes.
Clunt,
Yes.
Hughes,
Aye.
Schuyler. Aye.
Shaheen, and Councilman Clay.
Yes.
That motion to approve Resolution 2024-17 to pay $1,000 to the volunteer group that sells carnival tickets has passed. Item number 4, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Resolution 2024-18 policy updating the City of Winter Personnel Policy Book.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Hughes, second by Schuyler to adopt Resolution 2024-18, a policy updating the City of Winter Personnel Policy Book. The floor is open for discussion.
Mr. Mayor, point of information.
You bet. Mr. Schuyler.
Shannon.
Sure. So what this does is there's approximately, I believe, 7 or 8 policies that grievances, evals, different things like that, that in June of 2023, the city council moved those items over to our employed and contracted, capped at hours, city attorney at that time. In May of 2024, our city attorney job has changed with the appointment of Mr. Jurashik, and with that, a little less hours and ability to do some of these items. So what we put in there is it does say that these items would go to the finance officer, but ultimately the only reason it says that is to determine if there is a conflict of interest between HR and a department in situations that happen. HR will be handling all of these items that you have in front of you, unless it is deemed by the finance officer that there's a conflict of interest. I do want to make it clear that we are not asking for a change in anything to do with appointeds. The appointeds will stay with the city attorney. That has always been the plan and will continue to be the plan as so long as we have a city attorney. That makes the most sense to have that person deal with its items that arise because of that. Another thing that we did add is if it is a grievance within the finance office, the personnel committee would handle those situations. That way it's not reporting to an HR person who is ultimately within your office, or to myself that's ultimately within your office or your boss. You would be able to report directly to the personnel committee, and the personnel committee then would work with the city attorney to determine if things needed to happen.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Droshik, is this good with you too then?
Yes, that's my understanding of it.
Any other discussion, Councilman? So on the matter of to approve Resolution 2024-18, a policy updating the City of Winter Personnel Policy Book. Councilman Clunt,
Yes.
Hughes,
Aye.
Skylar,
Aye.
Shaheen, Clay,
Yes.
and Miners.
Yes.
Very good. Everybody voted yes. That resolution will pass. Item number 5.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-19, a resolution declaring the new location of the City of Winter Police Department.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Skylar, second by Hughes, to adopt a resolution declaring the new location of the City of Winter Police Department. Is there discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In the resolution, it states 310 Madison Street as the site, the location for the new police department. What's that site more commonly known to the public as?
That's where we intended to put the halfway house. That's
Which
correct.
used to be the Legion that we moved around
Yep.
the corner.
Yep.
Just so, for complete clarity, if people know it as the halfway house site or the old Legion building or whatever, that is the police headquarters.
Any other questions, clarifications, discussions? Hearing none, we'll call the question to approve the resolution 2024-19, declaring the new location of the City of Winter Police Department. Councilman Hughes,
Aye.
Skylar,
Aye.
Shaheen, Clay,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
and Clunt.
Yes.
All ayes, that motion passes. Item number 6. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion for first reading of ordinance 1080, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget for the Capital Improvement Fund Bailey's Complex Improvements in the amount of $6,400.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved by Skylar, second by Hughes, to place on first reading ordinance number 1080, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget for the Capital Improvement Fund, Bailey's Complex Improvements, in the amount of $6,400. Do we have any discussion?
Mr.
I was just gonna ask you to speak to this one. please.
Yes. This is approximately a month and a half ago, the city council did create the Bailey's Complex Improvements Capital Improvement Fund. It's in the 500 funds. And so, ultimately, once they discovered everything, when we initially built the fund, we only put in there what the bid was for. After looking at everything, the Public Works Director and the Parks and Cemetery Superintendent came back and asked the Parks Committee, hey, I think we're gonna need a little bit more than what was just bid, some miscellaneous concrete, some nuts and bolts to get everything where it needs to be. The Parks Cemetery Superintendent came back with this request of $6,400. This will come from the general fund cash on hand. We do have the ability for $6,400 to come out of that and go into this fund, and so it is supported by cash.
Very good. So we have the money. Any other discussions? Doesn't say we will call it. Okay, very good.
It's first reading.
Okay. On the first reading of ordinance number 1080, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget for the Capital Improvement Fund Bailey's Complex Improvements in the amount of $6,400. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item number 7, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 1081, an ordinance amending the 2024 sanitation budget to allow for the purchase of dumpsters due to funds received from surplus 300 gallon in the amount of $16,110.
Do we have a second? Shaheen? Moved by Councilman Clunt, second by Councilman Shaheen, to approve first reading of ordinance 1081, an ordinance amending the 2024 sanitation budget to allow for the purchase of dumpsters due to funds received from surplus 300-gallon dumpster, totes in the amount of $16,110. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
To explain this, your motion is reading due to funds received from the surplus 300 gallon. The actual ordinance will say sanitation fund cash on hand. So it's cash that was put in there because we surplus those dumpsters, the check is cleared, everything's good. And ultimately, because a grant helped purchase those totes, we have to use it for more dumpsters. And that's what we're doing, is we're supplementing the equipment line in the sanitation to purchase more of the metal dumpsters.
Very good. Any questions, discussion? So we have a motion by Clunt, second by Shaheen, to put on first reading ordinance 1081, amending the 2024 sanitation budget to allow for the purchase of dumpsters from the funds received from the surplus 300-gallon totes in the amount of $16,110. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item number 8, and I'm going to ask you only to recite the first full line of this, because I'll get tired of listening.
Yep. Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion, and thank you for your instruction on that. I'll make a motion to surplus the below land to be sold at auction with attached easements and a 2-year reversionary clause.
Is there a second to that abbreviated motion?
I'll second that.
Motion by Clay, second by Clunt, to sell a bunch of surplus lands as listed on the agenda. Any discussion, please?
Yes.
Mr. Clay.
Can you tell me, is there any liens or interest or title, anything held against any of these properties?
All titles are clean from any lien holders. We received the information back today.
And then, Mr. Droshik, I made a shortened, abbreviated motion, but will you read to the public the reversionary clause, please?
I can do that. The reversionary clause will read, the property is deemed to the grantee for the purpose of residential or commercial development. The grantee is required to have the plan for development approved by the Winter Planning Commission within 180 days of the date of this deed. Further, the grantee is required to have actual construction commenced within 1 year of the date of the deed. Finally, the grantee is required to have construction substantially completed within 2 years of the date of this deed. In the event the grantee fails to meet any one of the 3 requirements, the property shall revert back to the grantor without equitable adjustment upon the filing of the grantor's claim of reversion following expiration of the deadline for the application condition.
Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Mayor, could we also touch on the fact that there are easements on 4 of these properties? Easements that you will officially approve in 2 weeks at the next council meeting, but they are drafted and in your packet for you to see. The first one is on the Indian Ball Field, which is the park on First Street, and we have a sewer main that runs through there. DGR has come through and staked and looked at all of that, and it is now listed. There is also a Golden West easement that's on that property that it kind of follows along the sewer main, so it would be very similar. And then Lamro, this is an easement that we are adding at the request of the Public Works Director for just a little bit more than what our right-of-way easement would be to be able to put a transformer, in-ground transformers on that, same as the two on Main Street. Both of those would be able so that we could go underground on Main Street as well.
And those easements will be completed prior to
Yes,
the opening of the auction.
that is correct.
Correct. Any other questions, discussion? This will be good to get rid of this property. Hopefully somebody will develop a whole bunch of housing on it and we'll have more people move to Winter. With that, we'll call the question, and I'm sure not gonna read that 40,000 word deal. Councilman Schuyler,
Aye.
Shaheen, Clay,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Clunt,
Yes.
and Hughes.
Aye.
Very well. That motion passes. Item number 9. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to enter into agreement with Shippey Realty for the following properties to be sold at auction on September 9th, 2024.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Clunt, second by Clay, to sell those same properties that we just talked about. Is there any discussion on this?
Is this live auction?
It will be on the City Hall steps. If there is inclement weather, we will go into the community center and have it in there, and it will be at 1 PM on Monday, September 9th.
1 o'clock.
So yes, live auction.
Mr. Mayor,
Except we're gonna have to find some steps. Yes, Councilman?
what is the fee associated with Shippey Realty?
0.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Shippey. Any other discussion? Can city council people bid on these items?
I would advise you to talk to legal. There are rules and regs as far as appointed and elected
I just
officials
wanna
on
know.
auctions.
Don't care.
Sorry, ask your question again.
My question was, can city councilmen bid on these items?
I,
In the years past, council advised us that we were not allowed to bid. Now, someone else, say a spouse, could bid on it, but we were not allowed.
Very good.
If my memory serves me correctly.
I can look into it and give you an answer, but I believe he is
We
correct.
should know
in-
that before I place my first bid. Yep.
I will say.
I'll let you know before that.
Hate to have anybody holler at me. Okay. So to enter into the agreement with Shippey Realty, any other questions on that? Mr. Shaheen, cast your vote, please. Clay,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Clunt,
Yes.
Hughes,
Aye.
and Schuyler.
Aye.
Very good, all ayes. Mr. Shippey will get to sell these for us. Okay? On the claims, do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the claims as presented. Do I need to add the 6,400? No, okay.
And a second to that motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion.
About time you did something. Okay, we have a motion by Schuyler, second by Miners to pay the claims. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Very good. Item number 11. Have we seen this letter of intent?
you
I
have
missed
it in front of
We
you,
have it.
and it was produced at the electric committee.
Okay, very good, thank you. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the letter of intent
And to
Mo-
have the mayor sign?
and have the mayor sign.
Motion by Miners. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Clunt. To approve the letter of intent to WAPA and have the mayor sign. Any discussion, please?
Yes, I'd like to, so I'll tell you guys, what this is, we had a Zoom meeting with WAPA and our engineers and Kurt and myself. And we wanted to discuss our proposed phase 1 of our electrical upgrades out at the substation. It is owned by WAPA, so we had to get WAPA's permission. And what this is it's just it's WAPA's request that the city submit in writing with the City of Winter letterhead for the file to get this project started, so we could start with the preliminaries of finding out costs associated with it, what exactly, we propose to do. Just basically, all that is, it's not a legally binding letter. It's just for the file. It's just to show WAPA that the City of Winter has the intent to go forward with this project.
Very good, thank you. Any other discussion, council? This will be a roll call vote to approve the letter of intent to WAPA and authorize the mayor to sign it. Councilman Clay,
Yes.
Councilman Miners,
Yes.
Councilman Clunt,
Yes.
Hughes,
Aye.
Schuyler,
Aye.
and Shaheen. All ayes, that motion carries. Thank you very much. That will conclude our regular meeting of the Winter City Council. Do we have a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to enter into executive session at 7:27 PM for a legal issue per South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, sub